Hello, folks. This story was sent to me by a subscriber and is intended for educational purposes only. Thank you for watching. 4 grams magic mushroom. The sofa became my portal to the quantum circus. I wasn't expecting much when I swallowed the 4 grams of magic mushrooms. Just a chill evening with a bit of laughter and maybe some colorful walls. What I got instead was a one-way ticket to a dimension that I can only describe as the quantum circus, a place where physics took a vacation and absurdity ran the show. It all started when I flopped onto my old, saggy sofa, which suddenly decided it was not just furniture, but a portal. The cushion started to ripple like a pond disturbed by a stone, and before I could even say, "What the heck?" I was sucked through the fabric and landed in a world where gravity was optional and reality was more like a suggestion. The first thing I noticed was the smell, like a mix of cotton candy, old books, and something that smelled suspiciously like my grandma's secret cookie recipe. Around me were floating shapes, constantly shifting between mundane objects and bizarre creatures. A lamp morphed into a giant glowing jellyfish that winked at me before turning into a disco ball. The walls, if you could call them that, were swirling tapestries of fractals, kaleidoscopes on steroids, twisting and folding into themselves with hypnotic precision. I was just about to take a step when a parade of tiny purple elephants marched by, each wearing a top hat and monocle, trumpeting a melody that sounded suspiciously like a jazz tune played backwards. They stopped, looked at me, and one asked in a posh accent, "Care to join our soiree, dear traveler?" Before I could answer, I found myself dressed in a sparkling tuxedo that appeared out of thin air, complete with a feathered cane. Apparently, dress code here was mandatory for fun. I followed the elephants through a carnival that defied logic. Ferris wheels spun sideways, cotton candy clouds floated at eye level, and the popcorn was sentient, popping itself into existence with cheeky little explosions that giggled when they burst. As I walked, the ground beneath me shifted textures, from velvet the bubbles that popped underfoot. At one point I came face to face with a ringmaster, part human, part octopus, his tentacles waving wildly as he narrated the scene with a voice that sounded like a mix between Morgan Freeman and a game show host. "Welcome to the quantum circus," he boomed, "where time dances to its own tune and logic is just a performer." Suddenly, the tent split open, revealing a stage where gravity itself was the main act. Performers floated upside down, sideways, and in spirals, juggling planets and riding comets as if they were circus ponies. I tried to speak, but words tangled into colorful ribbons that floated away before I could catch them. Communication here was more about feeling the vibe and sensing your thoughts to the cosmic groove. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them, I was riding a unicycle made of liquid light, balancing effortlessly as I joined the other performers. We juggled flaming stars, danced through loops of neon rainbows, and played hide and seek with constellations that winked and shimmered mischievously. Time started to behave like a roller coaster, speeding up, slowing down, then freezing altogether. During a slow-motion moment, I noticed a clown, painted in shimmering gold, who pulled a bouquet of flowers from his nose, only for them to turn into a flock of tiny birds that sang my favorite childhood lullaby. It was weird, it was beautiful, and it was utterly enchanting. Then the scene shifted again. The circus dissolved into a cosmic carnival floating in an endless void. I found myself standing at a booth labeled Choose Your Reality. Rows of colorful buttons glowed invitingly, each promising a different experience, some peaceful, some wild, others downright strange. With a mischievous grin, I pressed a button labeled Chaos and Wonder. Instantly, the ground turned into a checkerboard that rippled like water, and I was chased by dancing teapots while juggling planets that sang Beatles' songs. At some point, I noticed the sofa I came through was hovering nearby, now occupied by a wise-looking tortoise wearing glasses, sipping tea and reading a newspaper with headlines like Quantum Baboons Take Over Moon and Philosophers. Debate meaning of socks. Debate meaning of socks. The tortoise winked at me and said, "Enjoy the ride, but remember, the show always ends where it began." I nodded, feeling a mix of awe and amusement. As the trip wound down, the quantum circus began to fade, the colors blending into soft pastels, before dissolving into the familiar texture of my living room walls. What? The sofa gently expelled me back into reality, where I lay panting, heart racing, and eyes wide open. I looked around. Nothing seemed different, yet everything felt transformed. The mundane was now laced with magic, the ordinary infused with possibility. That night, the sofa wasn't just a piece of furniture anymore. It was my portal to a world where whimsy ruled, and the impossible was just another trick up the sleeve. And I knew, deep down, that somewhere out there, the quantum circus was still dancing, waiting for the next curious soul to join the performance.